All right, RS fam, it has finally happened. We finally got a chance to interview someone from Team Rivian, and not just anyone, but the Tony Caravano, Rivian's head of customer engagement. So thank you, Team Rivian, for sharing Tony with us. The following is just a segment of the full 47-minute interview, so please subscribe. We'll be rolling these out daily for the next handful of days. If you cannot wait, please join us over at rivianstories.com. Click on community, and it's right there for you to watch. You don't have to register or anything like that. And speaking of subscribing, we do have a surprise coming probably early next week that you will not want to miss. Tony shared some great information. We can't let you know now, but I will show you our reactions. All right, guys, please like, subscribe, do the bell thing, join us over on the community so you don't miss it. It's going to be fun. All right, here is our interview with Tony Caravano, and thank you again to Team Rivian.
One of the biggest, and I'm going to call it a category of questions, Tony, that we received from the community was all about delivery timing, like when will I get my Rivian? How do I know what to expect? And also, I mean, just going beyond the vehicle itself, people are interested in things like the camp kitchen. But I would say that most of those, when will I get my Rivian type questions, people just want to understand the process a little bit better. How does Rivian prioritize, when and how people get vehicles? So if you might be able to talk a little bit about that, that would be extremely helpful.
There's a good list and there's a bad list.
Yeah, there's the list that Jimmy's on, and there's the list that Kyle and Skylar are on, of course. No, Jimmy just ordered an R1T, and we said we would build those first. The delivery timing is our number one question as well. So again, to our specialists that work here and in Normal, this is the question they hear most frequently. And it's based on it's still based on that general formula that we sort of put out a while back. So it is your original pre-order date, your delivery location, and your configuration. I think where as a community we forget that is a very intricate formula actually, right? The number of configurations that you can have across Rivian is quite significant. So the vehicles rolling off the line at that time that are able to move to your location tied to your pre-order date is actually quite nuanced. So that formula is still the primary driver. We have done some things this year that I'm really excited about, and we've tested some things, and I actually will run through a test that I know caused a little bit of confusion. But we'll talk about the R1 shop maybe a little bit later. But those are the really key pieces of the ingredients. So essentially your vehicle, it's pulled for production, it's moving down the line, and the process all really starts to unfold for the customer when you are assigned to a guide and your guide reaches out and locks your configuration. Now, as you all know, we announced in June that changed. So our digital team, which is constantly trying to rethink. If you think that we are listening to everything that you're saying, know that the digital team is, the software teams are as well. So the digital team basically created the way for you to lock your configuration. You still get a guide if you want them, but you can go even faster through the purchase process. So that was one of the evolutions that we made this year because, Skylar, what we were seeing was people were, we were telling them that it was time for them to take delivery of their vehicle a little bit faster than they were expecting. So now this allows us to move a lot of that timeline even closer to the customer, just give them more control over the entire experience rather than your guide calling. And when a human calls you, you feel far more rushed. At least I do. So now you have this other opportunity. But we still want people to move really quickly because the faster you take delivery of your Rivian, the faster we can get to the next person that needs support going through the purchase process for theirs. We have also, one of the pieces of feedback, we didn't really think that our service centers would be a location that people wanted to go spend time, but we've learned very, very much so that folks want to see what's behind the wall, what's behind the curtain. So we're now doing a lot of vehicle deliveries at the service centers themselves. So it's no longer a little secret place. Like, we are inviting folks in, come and take delivery. And I think the actual coolest part there is you get to meet the local team. So when we started this conversation, We started talking about community here, but we also started talking about community at Rivian long ago. And what I think is really fascinating is we built up the narrative of the guide, and we empowered the guide with so much responsibility. And over time, they've added more responsibility, or we've added more responsibility to their plate. But now we have this network of people. So you have these amazing field specialists that they get, it's like Christmas. Like they're walking out and delivering a vehicle and watching people smile and jump up and down and cry, and little kids pop out of parts of the Rivian vehicle that are just exciting. And they're a really important part of the local community that is there supporting you. And now we have the service team as well, right? So you have the folks that take the phone calls and work from the app to support your service ticket needs. But you also have the people that are in your community, live in your area, that work on your Rivian. So I know this is about delivery timing, but essentially this is allowing us to move faster, but also to build a connection to Skylar while we move faster toward deliveries. Specifically, let's take R1S. We are still marching toward August, September windows for our external customers taking delivery. So we're in that process right now. We're continuing to ramp the R1S deliveries. I'm very excited about it. I spent some time in New York with a few of them, and now I want one as well. I don't need another vehicle at all, but I really, really it was so fun to drive. So I'm pumped about it and really excited to see more on the road. There are some, out here behind us here in Irvine, and they just draw so much attention.
So can a human call me and make me feel rushed, please?
If you take more than minutes to close out your purchase process, we'll have to have some words.
That's hilarious. And you know what? You mentioned Canada earlier, but we have a lot of Canadians that are part of our community. And any update that you might be able to give us on what our Canadian pre-order holders can expect?
Yeah, I think I'll come back on and talk in far more detail on the Canadian customer. We're working right now on thinking through what the first thing that we have to do in Canada is allow those customers to see the vehicles. They haven't had that opportunity. So we are sort of seeing more and more pop-ins to our location in Vancouver. I'm not advertising that because we don't have vehicles there, and it isn't really a public space. But we are thinking through what it will look like to engage that community. But I'm happy to come back on to talk in more detail about what those delivery windows look like.
That was actually one thing that we just us three tried to curate. Like one question of the curation was like, seeing these in person, test drives, it's still a very common question that people want to look at these and see them and feel them themselves. So not just in Canada,
right,
but everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
You go back to, God bless, man, I don't even know when that was. It feels like forever ago. Probably January or February of 20 when the new updates were coming out. Or not the new updates, but the new locations for events had come out. There was a Chicago, a Miami,
right.
LA. There was like Austin. Yeah, there was 2 or 3 more. Like, I know for a fact. I mean, thankfully, my parents they're pre-order holders for an R1S. There's actually a ton in the Satellite Beach, Melbourne area right now, so they see them way more than I see them in Jacksonville, just because Jacksonville's so stinking huge. But I know for a fact, man, there's just, like, to Kyle's point, there's just so many people that still haven't even seen their first one yet, let alone drive it. But they haven't even seen one. Mm-hmm. So these events, being able to turn these on and, meet people like you, like our first, we still talk to Kristen as well. Kristen Beckett, like, she was our first Rivian employee we met, and she's fantastic. Just the coolest, most down to earth person. And she ended up introducing us to Brian, who then it just kind of snowballed from there, all from the New York Auto Show back in April of 19. But getting to
This is how Jimmy becomes a favorite child.
He put on a lot of airline miles. I think that's really what it is.
Oh man, I tell you what. I mean, anytime those events came up, to your point that you made earlier too, Tony, like Nikki went out to Atlanta while I was in the desert. Like anytime those events came up, minus we didn't do Mill Valley and we didn't do Seattle, but
those are fun.
All those events in between, like if there was an opportunity for us to show up, we have 1 week to buy airfare, like let's figure it out. Like I don't care, we'll make it happen. You know?
Yeah, and you all are hitting on a really important point that we're talking about all the time, right? And that is how do you put drives in the right places? It's a direct to consumer approach, right? And we've seen that lots of customers they want their Rivian as fast as possible. So a drive and seeing the vehicle is not critical to them. Mm-hmm. There are other customers that have told us, I really would love to see it before you ask me to purchase it. And we understand that. I think knowing the state of the world that we were in when we actually did launch and launch last year and start deliveries last year, we knew that our return policy had to make up for the fact that we were never going to be able to make up for those 2 years of events with ease. So that 7-day sort of no questions asked return policy is one of those things that I know has provided some folks with a bit of relief around that. But there are also some people that we see that are super excited about going through the experience. It's digital and just buying the vehicle. I'm not here to pitch anyone on sort of what camp they should be in. I'm acknowledging that both of them exist. So one of the things that's helped out is the fact that lots of owners, like myself, are out giving vehicle walkarounds over and over and over again to customers. I think I spent 2 hours outside of my neighborhood this weekend, and this couple were so in every single feature that you all have already loved and talked about and lauded or poked at. They couldn't believe the gear tunnel. They couldn't believe that it was starting from scratch, right? And the number of folks in the community who have done these vehicle walkarounds and taken their friends and family for drives has helped tremendously. So we need to think about how we amplify that and create more opportunity around that. And we've actually had this conversation as a group in the past. And we also have to think about how we move vehicles around the country so that others that do need to see them and touch them before have the opportunity to do that. So it's certainly top of mind.
That's a great point. And, we've seen a ton of that on the Rivian Stories side, especially in people in more remote places where there's not a service center nearby, to where they're not running first mile test drives out of, anything like that. But we've seen that happen with just individuals saying, hey, I'm going to be going through this area. If anybody wants to check out my R1T, which is incredible. And then the other thing that we've seen starting to happen is more kind of local regional clubs come up, and
absolutely
non-owners are able to go to events that those clubs put on and look, see, touch, feel Rivians for the first time, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's one in Portland that I've followed pretty closely, and they've had some really outstanding turnout of both folks that are interested and curious about Rivian and those that are pre-order holders or owners. So that's the balance that we've got to strike, and we've got to figure out how to work together to activate more of those. And I know we started this on timing, and also we have to have more R1Ss on the road. So again, feel really good about where we're headed in our trajectory and ramping the R1S. Also, so excited to see more of those on the road, through this month and September, and then hopefully folks will be getting a balance of both the R1T and the R1S.
That's awesome.
That's exciting to hear.
It's exciting. I want to push on this R1S even more. All right, that's it for this one. We can't share the rest until later. Please subscribe and follow and do all that stuff. We can't wait to share it with you. Thanks again to Team Rivian. Thanks again, Tony Caravano. We'll catch you next time.